But April 25th, Mike, is when obviously I had no idea that 8 individuals lost their life on an attempted rescue operation. We as hostages, we'd faced the fact that we were just going to be there forever.
Right.
And many of my colleagues tried to commit suicide while they were there. The good thing is Billy and I were young. Jerry was older, and we talked through many issues. But that day of April 25th, you could tell something was happening because they were running back and forth in the corridor, and through the broken window in the back of the embassy, you could hear cars strewn around. By that evening, they came running into our room, and whenever that door opened, you didn't know if they were going to come in and start shooting.
Could be the last day, yeah.
They come running in, handcuffed, my left hand to Jerry, my right hand to Billy. They blindfold us, and they take us down to the back of the embassy, put us into a vehicle, handcuff Jerry to the left side, handcuff Billy to the right side. We're handcuffed, blindfolded. They take a picture of us, and then they put a blanket over top of us. Little did we realize that they had found the charred bodies of those 8 servicemen in the desert. These 8, along with 90 other individuals, made it into the heart of Iran to try to attempt a rescue operation. It failed. When they found the charred bodies, the C-130, the CH-53, the Iranians knew then that America was trying to rescue us. So we were all in the chancery the morning of April 25th. By that evening, we were scattered throughout the country. So they never could find us.
Wow. And are you losing all hope at this point?
Yeah, there was no light at the end of that tunnel.
Was it like in Vietnam, how we know that there was POWs there, forever? Were you thinking about that? That this could be our fate forever.
Well, yeah. Again, for me, being a young, naive kid, the holidays, that first Thanksgiving, that first Christmas, you thought a humanitarian gesture, Mike.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. You thought, you were going to be there for a long period of time. And like I said, they never let us go out and do anything. I guess they always figured that we'd try to escape, which we would try.
Right.
But we were locked in that room. I mean, I hate going to a zoo.
Yeah.
Because when I see an animal locked in a cage, that's what we were
relate
for
to
444 days.
What a horrible. I mean, in addition to the physical aspects of it, psychologically, it had to be so damaging.
It was, and as I was telling Mike earlier, I mean, I might look normal on the outside, but I'm all messed up on the inside.
That's what I was going to ask you. How much after effect have you had to deal with?
It's one of those things. We spent our second Thanksgiving, second Christmas since January 20th, 1981, and I mean, never did I ever. I prayed so hard in my life, and my mother, being a staunch Catholic, she said, you pray because someday you're going to need God. Mm-hmm. And so, you know what? She was so right. And so I prayed, and sure enough, that day of January 20th came. We were in this location. They had taken our shoes from us, so we could not escape.
Yeah.
And so January 20th, 1981, they come running into our room and blindfold us. And they take us from the room, and instead of going right, the direction we came in, they turn left, and all of a sudden, I'm the first one, and he turns me, opens the door, and you feel this cold, fresh air, something you hadn't felt for so long. Walk out, and I'm stepping in the snow, something I hadn't felt for 2 years.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I'm walking through the snow with my open-toed shoes, and I remember opening my mouth, and the snow is coming in, and they put me onto a vehicle. And all of a sudden, the vehicle, it pulls off, it scrapes the right side of the tree, jumps a curb, it turns right, and about 30 minutes later, all of a sudden, it makes a right-hand turn, and you hear a sound of an airplane. Oh. And I mean, your heart is pounding because this is something you had prayed for.
Yeah.
You had cried for, you had hoped for. And all of a sudden, the force of the jet is pushing against the vehicle that we were in. And I didn't have glasses then, didn't have hearing aids then, and they tell us to unblindfold. And you start to slowly unblindfold, and here you are looking at people that you hadn't seen since November 4th.
Didn't know who was alive, didn't know.
No.
Yeah.
You look bad, you smell bad, and you're like in shock. And they start taking us one by one, and they put us on the back of the airplane. And I walk up, and I hadn't seen a woman in 444 days. And here's this pretty little stewardess, and she's not speaking English, it's broken English, Algerian.
Yeah.
And she says, please come, you must sit down. Mike, the reason why I'm sitting here is because the United States paid the Islamic Republic of Iran $8.3 billion. Because when we were in Iran, a war with Iran and Iraq started.
Yeah.
And Iran needed money to fight the war. We had no idea. The Shah dies a day after my birthday, July 27, 1981. I find this out in Evin prison when we were held. I was in Evin prison for 4 months. And we had no idea what was going on. And now here, all of a sudden, you're released. Had no idea that the United States had paid this money. We're freed.
You don't know why it's happening. You don't know about Reagan?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the pair of pants I had on, my left cheek was completely hanging out.
Wow.
I mean, I'd worn it for over 200 days.
They didn't give you any prisoner outfits, nothing. You were just in them. I'm saying like they didn't want to identify you as like in case you did get away.
No.
They just kept you in the same clothes.
In the same room with the same people.
Room, yeah.
I mean, and so here you are now together, and they're chanting death to America, and you're boarding an airplane. It's like, this doesn't go well.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be happy or not. Yeah.
So you get on the airplane, and so you're just like, in shock, and people start coming on. And it's not like a celebration because this plane has got to take off.
Yeah.
And we got to get in a good area. And so all of a sudden the pilot says, please be seated. We must leave very quickly. And you turn around and you're saying, wait, where's Gene? Where's Kurt? Where's Judy? Where's everybody else?
Right. You don't know who is.
No. And they said, no, you're the last. We said, what are you talking about? Where's everybody else? And they said the others were let go a year earlier.
Wow.
We had no idea that other people were let go a whole year earlier, and that we were the remaining 52 out of all those people.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Just want to say how point out another difference between a guy like you and a guy like me. You're concerned with the other people, and where's Gene? Where's I'd have been like, just let's go, let's get me out of here, get me home. But you cared enough to worry about where your friends were and the people that you knew.
Well, think about my colleagues that were let go.
Yeah.
I mean, many of my Marine buddies, they had difficulty realizing that they were let go and that we remained. I mean, they had more difficulty when they got home because they remained. So anyway, the pilot comes on and says, please be seated, we must leave. And he taxis down. They've been sitting there living on that airplane for 3 days.
Oh, just waiting for that.
Yeah, because the two C-130s arrived with $8.3 billion in gold on January 17th.
Oh.
That airplane was supposed to land, and the Islamic Republic of Iran was supposed to release the hostages, but they said, no, we will release the hostages when we want. And in our interrogations, Mike, they told us, it is not you, the American people, we hate, it's your government, but we will use you to humiliate your government. Mm-hmm. And that's what they were doing to Carter. So we get to the end of the runway, and we're on this plane, and just sitting there, I'm grabbing the armrest, and all of a sudden, he starts throttling the plane, shaking, all of a sudden, and comes back down to an idle. Through the mock firing squads, through the Russian roulette, here they are screwing with us one last time.
Yeah.
They turn the runway lights off. And the pilot comes on and says, they've got the lights off. We're trying to get the lights on. We didn't understand, but back home, the inauguration, they waited 20 minutes until Carter was out of office and Reagan was in, just to stab President Carter.
Yeah, now I'm 52, and that's a little bit of what I remember of when it was happening.
Yeah.
It's the minute Reagan was elected, that's when everything was starting to go.
And think about, what did they do to President Reagan? 1983, killed 240 Marines in Beirut.
Yeah.
Mike, that's why I regret not ever pulling that trigger November 4th.
Sure.
The war on terrorism started November 4th, and they've gotten away with it since then for 45 years. And here we are, battling the Islamic Republic of Iran.
When you look at this deal that we made yesterday, where we're sending $93 billion in aids over, like, how does that bother you? Like, when you think about it now, I mean, that we're still sending money over to these other governments to fight their wars. That's gotta bug a guy like you.
Well, it bugs me because we should have dealt with it back in 1979. Right. None of this would have been happening. You know what? When we were attacked in Pearl Harbor, we went to war.
Yeah.
And we finished that war. And for some reason, our enemy, they remember history. We get rid of history.
Yeah.
We throw history away, and we bring in people that forget what happened. And so Iran knows our government comes and goes every 4 to 8 years.
Right.
They
So-
just need to negotiate through those and get all the money they can. And they know taking hostages is good money. But I come home, Mike, and, I work for an incredible organization now, Folds of Honor, that provides scholarships to children and spouses of fallen, disabled military and first responders. Like you said, there's 1% of our population that serves the war on terror, and our first responders, they're heroes. 9/11, when that occurred, people were running away. They were running in.
And it's these guys, you come back here, it's like you said, you come back here and you're an American citizen, but you're not the same. You can't. There's things you can't. You've dealt with in your life that you may not be able to do. The Folds of Honor is taking 51,000 scholarships. That's amazing.
And we have Great Bay Beverage here, a wholesaler, Anheuser-Busch, its brands, its wholesalers like Great Bay have provided over 14 years, $27 million to Folds of Honor to provide education. At Folds of Honor, we say, honor their sacrifice, educate their legacy. And that's what I get to do. Every morning I wake up, I earn each day in memory of those 8 individuals. Mike, think about it. If one of your boys were killed or taken hostage, how do you get up in the morning and go to work and think like everything's normal?
No, the entire time you're telling it. So I have a son and a daughter, and the entire
I'm sorry,
that's right. The entire time you're talking, I think. If my son, I think of it in a more realistic situation. If my son ever went to jail, I don't know how I'd live not being able to protect him. Now know that he's in a place where they're torturing him every day. I don't know how. 444 days. That's the parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah, and for a hostage, it was tough for me, but my poor parents, it destroyed them.
Because especially I'm sure your mother loved you and missed you the most, but when you're a father, you're the protector of the family, and now you're absolutely helpless. There's nothing you can do. You'd give your life for your kids, but even that you can't do.
Yeah, and if you remember back then, that was the first Ted Koppel Nightline.
Yeah.
The media lived in my parents' yard. Imagine the media living in your
Camping
yard
out there, man,
for the next 444 days. My mother, the way that she dealt with it was she cooked for all the media that lived out in the yard. She would make pastries, but it kept her busy. And God love her, and my brothers and sisters. And like I said, my girlfriend, she waited for me. When I got home, we were finally released. That plane finally took off. We got into Turkish airspace. We were escorted to Athens, Greece. New pilots. They then flew us from Athens to Algiers. We boarded medevac planes. We get to Germany. I make my first phone call home to my mom and dad. And they say that Jill is here. And I said, she waited. And my dad said, well, she wants to talk to you. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, that doesn't sound good. She's going to tell me she's going to get married or something. And she says, Rocky, I've been in the service, Mike, for 6 years at that time. And she said, either me or the military. But I can't do this. I can't live with you being gone again and not knowing. And so I chose wisely, and that's when I went to work for AB for 34 years. And that's when I met Major Rooney, an incredible man that formed this organization of Folds of Honor. Like you said, 51,000 scholarships. 90 cents of every dollar that comes in goes back into that scholarship. 45% of our recipients are minority. Out of that 45%, 57% are females. And again, just like what we were talking about, a military person, what happens so much on the family of when they're gone or if they don't come home.
Right.
And then we need to make sure that we take care of them.
Yeah. And I don't think you'll find many people that disagree with you, no matter what their political views are. We still respect what the soldiers have done for putting their lives first, giving up their families. I think everybody appreciates that.
Yep.
And I think it's great that Folds of Honor does this. I'm proud to be associated with Anheuser-Busch and with Budweiser and the work that they do. We've done events with them. We're fortunate that we have MacDill Air Force Base right here in the Tampa Bay area, so we can definitely show the love back to the folks in the military and appreciate them. What are you're headed over there now? What do you got going on over there?
I'm headed over to Great Bay Beverage to speak to the sales team. This year, Anheuser-Busch will be doing another big year. Like I said, 14 years, over $27 million. And Great Bay, along with all the other AB wholesalers, are doing a great job. And so just telling the story, and I always want to tell that story about those 8 individuals, Operation Eagle Claw. I get to meet those guys that were able to live through that ordeal. I mean, imagine being on that rescue operation the morning of April 25th. They flew through the night of April 24th, landed in the desert in the middle of the country of Iran. And all of a sudden, a helicopter crashed with the C-130. They couldn't get their colleagues because the fire was so intense, and they had to get out. Not only did they lose their friends, but they couldn't come in and get us. And so I get to see those individuals. And like I said, each day I wake up and I earn in memory of those 8 individuals that sacrificed and had the guts to try.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't know how you do it. I don't know. I think it's a Sicilian in me. I don't know that I'd be giving anybody up and ratting people out, but boy, I'd be pissed off if I was over there. I'd be mad at everybody when I came back here. Like you're definitely in a good spot mentally with with being able to deal with what you've been through. But
it's my wife. My wife. Without her, I would be in a ditch somewhere. She's been with me, before this and after this, and whenever I get off the track, she puts me on track. And I got 3 beautiful kids. I get 4 grandkids. And this is where it gets tough. Those 8 individuals, Mike, they would never have the opportunity to go fishing with their son ever again. Go to a father-daughter dance.
Yeah.
Walk their daughter down the aisle.
It's awful
Hold
to think
your
about.
grandkids.
Yeah.
And those are things I've gotten to do. And those 8 individuals would never get to do that. And so that's why the American people need to remember our military and our first responders, what they do in their families, what they have to go through.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I have always appreciated the military. I've done what I could, to get word out, our band play a function or do something that we can do to help out, because I feel like we all owe it. I feel like we all owe, and I'm not talking about anybody just people who've been in bad situations. Anybody who give up their life to go do that for any short amount of time is so appreciated. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you're safe and that you're spreading the word and that you're still talking to people and letting them know that they can live on after things like this. Can I tell you the 2 things that I could not get out of my head the entire time you were talking? One is I can't imagine having to just be dirty and no showers and living with other people and just being grossed out for all that time. And the other thing is, man, what a pounding you must have gave that girlfriend when you came home. The whole time I thought, I'm locked in a room with 2 guys. I got out guys outside with machine guns. There's nothing sexual about it. But when I get home, boy, you got 444 days of loving coming at her. That's hilarious. I'm just thinking that's a long time for a 20-something-year-old guy to be sitting there all built up. I'm surprised. Man. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure and honor to meet you, and thank you for all that you do, and thank you to Folds of Honor, and for you to go out there and speak on their behalf, because when you hear it from a guy who's lived through an experience like that, it means a whole lot more.
Well, it's, as we say it, Folds of Honor, honor their sacrifice, educate their legacy, and God bless America. And your listeners, have no idea how wonderful our country is. People are trying to get into our country because of our freedom. Don't take it for granted.
I'll tell you, when you hear a story like that and you hear about how quick you can lose that freedom, you'll really realize how great we have it here.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for your service and everything that you've been through.
Thank you, sir.
We will take a quick break. It's the Mike Calta Show. This is 102.5 The Bone.